Poland's pro-European coalition government won a vote of confidence on Wednesday in a result that Prime Minister Donald Tusk has said he hopes will give his cabinet new momentum after it was shaken by a defeat in the presidential election. I call this vote of confidence for obvious reasons. There was understandable uproar, speculation about whether the government will survive or Tusk will be overthrown. This vote comes after Poland's presidential election, where close Tusk ally Rafał Trzaskowski was defeated by opposition-affiliated Karol Nawrocki. This caused concern among the smaller partners in the coalition government and cast doubt over the administration's future when a hostile president will be able to wield veto powers. After the election's results were made official, Tusk announced that he'd be seeking a vote of confidence. My intention was not to show how strong I am and how I have a majority, but to stop any possible speculation. We have 2 years to lead us to a place where we are doing well. Tusk won with 243 votes in support and 210 against. Tusk's coalition has 242 lawmakers in the 460-seat parliament, meaning that he was always likely to survive the parliamentary vote, even despite receiving what some called a red card from the electorate in the presidential election. However, while his government will live to see another day, Tusk isn't out of the woods quite yet.
I have a feeling that today it was only an attempt to buy some more time for the current government and for the current prime minister. Apparently, he didn't say anything that much new. He presented some new promises, very, very broad, very, very, very general ones, and then also promised that there will be some internal reshuffle, internal changes within the government, but apparently it's just aiming to buy some more time.
Tusk's government has announced that it would reorganize slightly in the coming weeks. All this points to the fact that even coalition members understand that their government is on a weak standing. Approval is low and many consider the government to be inept, accomplishing little during their 18 months in power. While some will blame the current president, Andrzej Duda, who is affiliated with the opposition, since Tusk's coalition formed, he has only vetoed a total of 6 bills. The president knows his rights. If we find ourselves on common ground, good, it is better for Poland. If the president is ready for confrontation, then that's too bad. Whether or not Tusk's government will manage to survive its remaining scheduled 2 years is still up in the air. Regardless, whether elections do occur, their prospects look grim. Much would need to change for them to regain public trust. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is one of the most modern and safest aircraft in the world. There were 242 people on board, including 12 crew members. It took off at 1:39 p.m. local time from Ahmedabad Airport in the Indian state of Gujarat. It was scheduled to land at London Gatwick 9 hours later. However, this did not happen. A few dozen seconds after takeoff, the plane crashed to the ground. Eyewitness recordings show a fireball followed by black smoke rising above a densely populated neighbourhood near the runway. My sister was flying to London. This is a tragedy for our whole family. I don't know how we'll get through this. All emergency services arrived at the scene immediately. Emergency services, the fire department, the police and civil administration arrived at the crash site within 2 to 3 minutes. The search and rescue operation is currently underway. The plane crashed into the cafeteria of a medical academy. According to local authorities, many medical students are among the victims. My son went to the hostel for lunch. The plane crashed into the hostel. He's fine. I spoke to him. People died. I have to go inside to see my son. My office is 200 meters away from this. I heard a loud noise and went outside. Then I saw a thick cloud of smoke. People started running in chaos. Now that I've arrived here, I can see the situation. The Indian Directorate General of Civil Aviation reported that the captain of the plane had over 8,200 hours of flight time. The co-pilot had 1,100 hours of experience. The investigation is continuing. It is too early to talk about the cause or determine the exact number of victims. Our priority is to rescue the injured. The Prime Minister is monitoring the situation on a continuing basis. Air India reported that there were 242 people on board, including 11 children. Of these, 169 were Indian citizens, 53 were British, 7 were Portuguese, and 1 was Canadian.
My thoughts, and I'm sure those of the entire House, are with those who've been affected by the tragic plane crash in India this morning. We know that British nationals were on board, and Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that the FCDO is working urgently with local authorities to support British nationals and their families.
King Charles III and Queen Camilla were shocked by the news that reached the United Kingdom early this morning, as they said in a special statement. Our special prayers and deepest possible sympathy are with the families and friends of all those affected by this appallingly tragic incident across so many nations, as they await news of their loved ones. I would like to pay a particular tribute to the heroic efforts of the emergency services and all those providing help and support at this most heartbreaking and traumatic time. An experienced pilot and former CEO of LOT Airlines, Jacek Balca, says that at this point any attempts to find the causes of the crash are mere speculation. The black boxes will be the basis for determining the causes of the crash. The plane fell from a low altitude. Despite the explosions, the boxes are durable and properly secured, and the data will be readable, and then we will know the truth. Were both engines working? At what power? What did the pilots say to each other? Because it is natural that they did not have time to say anything more to the tower than Mayday. Considered safe and modern, it entered production in 2011. Currently there are over 1,100 of them flying around the world. Passengers of the Polish airline LOT also fly on Dreamliners. This is the first passenger aircraft of this size to be built from composites, i.e. synthetic materials, unlike previous generations of aircraft, which are made of aluminium and other metals. The second thing is that the wings of these aircraft are a single element, built on a single long spar, which makes them more aerodynamic and flexible, making the flight more comfortable for passengers, as they do not feel turbulence as much, and it also burns less fuel. We will have to wait at least a few weeks for the results of the investigation, but one hypothesis immediately comes to mind. There will certainly be an international investigation involving the aircraft manufacturer, the engine manufacturer, and representatives of the Indian authorities, which will take weeks before we know the preliminary conclusions and months before the final conclusions. This is the first Dreamliner crash in history. Under special supervision and with the utmost caution, the evacuation of American personnel is underway in the Middle East, from the embassy in the Iraqi capital Baghdad, but also from other countries in the region, including Kuwait and Bahrain. When asked about the reasons for the evacuation, President Donald Trump responds very briefly, but it is worth listening to his words. Could the words of the leader of the world's most powerful nation mean further escalation? The Americans do not make evacuation decisions lightly because it is a huge logistical operation. In the next 2 to 3 days, there may be a massive Israeli attack on Iran, and we must expect Iran to respond militarily to this type of action. We must expect Iran to attack not only Israel, but also American bases where weapons are stored. The evacuation of American personnel took place shortly after it became clear that Tehran was actively working on enriching uranium for the production of nuclear weapons. What is more, the country's authorities are opening another suspicious facility.
The Board of Governors at the International Atomic Energy Agency have passed a resolution sharply criticizing Iran over its obligations to that UN nuclear watchdog. Now, Iran has already retaliated. They say they're going to build a third site in the country to enrich uranium, and they're also going to swap out some of the older centrifuges at an underground facility for more advanced ones that can more rapidly enrich uranium.
The Middle East is a strategic region of the world for Americans. They have military bases there. Their greatest ally, Israel, is located there, which conducts counter-terrorism operations in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank and Syria. But the most worrying thing is escalation of tension between Israel and unpredictable Iran. Tehran is not only violating international law by working on uranium enrichment, but is also firing rockets at Israel with the help of Yemeni Houthi militants. It is a complicated game of influence and power. The main players in the Middle East are two countries, Israel and Iran. Iran is partly using Houthi rebels who, using missile technology and missiles supplied by Iran, are carrying out attacks or attempted attacks on Israel with ballistic missiles. Tel Aviv announced that it would deal decisively with terrorists and all those who support them after more than a year and a half ago, Hamas entered Israeli territory, kidnapping, raping and killing innocent people. Since then, the situation in the Middle East has only worsened. The evacuation of American personnel further exacerbates the unrest.
Iran cannot have a path to nuclear weapons. There's no need for enrichment. Enrichment only leads to one thing, a nuclear bomb. And if Iran has a nuclear bomb, they're going to use it. And if they have a nuclear bomb, that means all the proxies in the Middle East will be operating under a nuclear umbrella. It changes the balance of power in the world, and it is an existential threat for the state of Israel. We cannot allow, under any circumstances, for Iran to have a nuclear bomb for us. It's an existential threat.
It may already be too late to stop military action. The coming days or even hours will be decisive. In this extremely volatile region of the world, a single spark is enough to ignite a huge fire.
Recently, Die Welt published information about charges brought by the German authorities against two members of Poland's border defense movement. The situation described concerns the intervention of Polish citizens against two Somalis, who allegedly crossed the border illegally from Germany. Ultimately, the Germans transferred them to Poland at another crossing point that was not guarded by citizen patrols. Two suspected human traffickers remained on Polish territory and filmed the police's actions against the Somalis. The federal police launched criminal proceedings against two unknown men wearing reflective vests on charges of attempted human trafficking. Attempts to establish their identity through the German-Polish Cooperation Center in Świecko were unsuccessful. This is how Die Welt describes it. The police officers observed the Somalis encountering two men in vests on the Polish side, and these men were pointing with their hands in the direction of Germany. It was these gestures observed by German police officers that formed the basis of the charges brought by the German police. It is important to note the terminology being used. Words such as accusation, investigation, and human trafficking. The German media are also attacking similar grassroots movements operating in the Netherlands. Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt criticized grassroots border controls in the Netherlands and expects the authorities to intervene. There is absolutely no legal basis for doing such a thing, said the CSU politician in reference to the actions of protesters against immigration on the Dutch-German border. The German media are de facto an arm of the German government, which pursues German interests, and this gives rise to criticism of the actions of a grassroots NGO that performs tasks which Polish border guards are failing to. This situation is completely paradoxical. People taking action to oppose human trafficking are the ones being accused of human trafficking. Unfortunately, due to the passivity of the Polish authorities, grassroots movements are emerging that operate in accordance with the law and aim to stop German services from pursuing their own migration policy. It is, in fact, reasonable to argue that it is the German police, by breaking the law and pursuing the interests of the German government, that are involved in human trafficking. An article that referred to citizens of the border defense movement as human traffickers appeared in the German newspaper Die Welt 2 days after Alexander Dobrindt's visit to Poland. The influx of immigrants into Poland from Germany will increase even further after the implementation of the EU Migration Pact. Brussels has called on Poland and Hungary to speed up their efforts in this regard. These actions paint a clear picture of a Germany desperate to unload their burdensome migrants into Poland, as opposed to properly deporting them.